Stop buying MTN data for 1,500. Stop buying 1 gig for 1,500 or 2,000 or so. It's so expensive. I'm going to show you 12 codes that you can use to get MTN data very, very cheap. It's so ridiculously cheap that you will not believe it. Last year, 2024, they were selling 1 gig data 1,000, but this year, 2025, they just increased it to 1,500 or more. But many people don't know that there are codes that they can use to get MTN data very cheap. So I'm about to show you 12 good codes you can get it very cheap. These codes are working. They are working now. Alright, they are working. So let's drive straight ahead. So all you have to do is just click on the like button, and if you are new to this channel, click on the subscribe button, and let's go ahead. Alright, so the first code you can use to get cheap data is, just follow along, *312 *100. Then you die hash. Then you will be shocked at what they will give you. You see, you'll be charged 200 naira for 1 gig, and this is going to last for 30 days. You see, imagine if you have been buying 1 gig for 1,500. Can you see that with this 200 now, you can use it and get 5 gig or 6 gig with that 1,500. So don't stop buying data for so much cost while you can get it at a cheaper rate. So now let's move on to the next code. Your next cheaper code to get MTN data very cheap is to dial *312 *88 hash. You see, so this one is even good. They will give you 1 gig with Jara, extra Jara, 500 MB Jara. Wow, a woof. So this will last for 1 good month. So you don't have to spend 1,500 naira on MTN data. So don't forget this code and note it down somewhere, please. Note it down somewhere. And again, in case you cannot cram all this code, don't worry. I will show you an app that you can use to get all this data. Even if you don't have the code offered, just click on the data you want. Okay. So let's move on to the next code. Now, this next code I'm about to show you is so ridiculously cheap. You heard that for 20 naira now, they'll give you 75 MB. And it's going to last for 7 days. The good thing about this is you can multiply it, okay, and make it very big. For example, now you can use this 20 naira now to get 1 gig. Okay, let's do some mathematics. So for this code now, what you simply dial is dial *312 *10. Okay, let's dial *312 *10 hash. Alright, now when I dial it, look at, they will be charged 20 naira only for 75 MB, and it is going to last for 7 days. Alright, so if you do this, now let's do some small calculation. Now the funny thing here is that you can use this with this code. Now you can use just cheap 200 naira to get 1 gig for 7 days. So the only thing here is that you should be mindful. If you know that you use the data more than 7 days, don't do this. Okay, there are other data plans you should do. This is for those that want to use it up between maybe 2 or 3 days or so, or at most 6 days. Alright, so let's move on to the next data plan you can use to get cheap data from MTN. Now, the next code on our list is still for 20 naira, but the good thing here is that they'll give you a woof. They'll double your bonus for you. If you are getting 75 naira with the other code I showed you, this code, you are going to give you 75 plus 75, that is 150 MB for 7 days with just 20 naira only. Alright, so with this now, you can use 100 naira to get 1 gig. Alright, so let's dial the code and see. The code is *312. Okay, let me clear it. I made a mistake. *312 *86 hash. You see, once I dial this code, they will charge me 20 naira for 75 MB plus another 75 MB weekly. Okay, so this code is very good. Now let's move on to the next interesting code that will give you cheap data on MTN. Now the next interesting code that will give you very cheap data on MTN is when you dial *312 *87 hash. Now the good thing about this code is, see, you'll be given 200 MB plus 250 MB. That is a whooping 450 MB for just 50 naira. So why wasting your money buying 1 gig for 1.5 when you can get 450 MB for just 50 naira? And once you multiply that, you can use 100 naira now to get very cheap data. Alright, and this lasts for 14 days. So you should be aware of the time duration, because this one is not for 30 days, but I'll show you the one that you can use for 30 days. All right, so stop buying data very expensive when you can get it at a very cheaper code. And remember, if you cannot remember this code, there's an app that you can use to get it even more cheaper, and that app, you don't have to put any code, you just select the one you want. All right, so let's go straight ahead to the next code. Now, this next code on our list is good for those that I want to browse at night. Maybe they don't have time in the daytime, or there's no network, they just want to download something at night or browse at night. All right, this code is good for you. All right, so what you simply dial, you dial star 406 star 3 hash. So this one is for those that are on MTN Pulse. Remember, for you to do this, for you to get this, you have to migrate to MTN Pulse. All right, so they'll give you 500 MB at 15 naira. And remember, you can do this 4 times. That is, you can get, the most you can get is 2 gig for that night. It will start from 11 p.m. Once it's 11 p.m, you dial the code, then you are now into it to 6 a.m. All right, so they will give you just the highest you can get is 2 gig. If you want to do only once, you do 500 MB for 15 naira. If you want to do twice, you do 100 naira for 1 gig. All right, so now let's move on to the next cheapest. The next cheap code to get your cheapest data on MTN is star 1 star 312 star 1 star 10. Let's dial it through. Let's try it and see what comes up. Okay, this service is temporarily unavailable. I believe it should be network. Okay, and I don't want to waste your time to keep trying it, so you simply move on to the next one. Okay, let's move on to the code number 8. Now, the next interesting cheap code you can use to get very cheap data at a cheaper rate on MTN is star 344 star 2 star 1 hash. Now, before you do that, remember that this data now is for those that want to access educational sites. All right, you see, it's only for educational sites and app only. All right, so with this data now, you'll be giving 300 MB for 15 naira, and it's going to last 7 days. Why 4 gig here? You 600 naira, you get a whooping 4 gig. All right, so this data, you use it for only educational sites and not for your normal browsing. Okay, so now let's move on to the next code that you can use for cheap data plan. Now, this next code that I want to show you is very special. Sometimes you might be browsing with your data and you just finish your data. Before you know it, your data will just finish and you cannot browse again, because before you have to recharge, go to your app or your bank and recharge, go to your OPay or your MTN app or anything and recharge. Before you do that and browse and recharge, it's going to cost you data. You don't have data. So what do you simply do? You can simply use your airtime that you have to browse and get your data sharp before that. Okay, so to do that, what you simply do, you dial star 312 star 200 hash. All right, so you see, your request to browse at 3 naira per MB, 3.3 naira 7 kobo per MB is successful. Okay, so if you are done with this thing, the downside here is this code is very expensive, because with this code, I'm telling you, you spend 3,000 naira for 1 gig. All right, it's very expensive, so I don't advise you to go with this data plan. All right, because it's very, very, very expensive. Imagine 3 naira per MB. No, now that's very expensive. That means one gig you spending 3,000 naira. So immediately you do this and get your data that you want to subscribe for sharp, you cancel it. And to cancel it, what do you simply do? To cancel this code, you simply dial star 312 star 201 hash. All right, this one is just for emergency, so don't take it serious. Okay, I made a mistake. The real code is star 312. Okay, star 201 hash. Okay, don't use this one for so long, just for emergency. All right, let's move on. Dear customer, you have successfully cancelled browsing at 3 naira 7 kobo per MB. So now let's move on to the next cheap code for MTN data plan. So our next cheap code for MTN data plan is for those that browse heavily, or those that own an internet cafe or any office that use heavy data. All right, so what you simply do, you dial star 312 hash. Okay, then you click on send. Now once you click on send, these options are going to come up. All right, so once you come up, you select number 4, business plan. So let's go for 4 and see what comes up. All right, once you go for 4 business plan, you simply go for number 3, Yes, number 3, broadband plans. Okay, so once you go to broadband plans, you go for number 1, capped plans. So capped plans, then you now go for monthly bundles. All right, that is number 1, monthly bundles. So you see 9 gig for 9,000 naira, they are going to give you 30 gig. Okay, so let's do the mathematics. If you divide 9,000 naira divided by 30 gig, that means they are selling for you 1 gig at 300 naira. This is very cool and cheap compared to when you are buying 1 gig for 1,500 naira. You see, with this you can get 1 gig 5 times. All right, so this is very cool plan if you are browsing heavily. All right, so let's move on to the next plan. So the next plan that you use for heavy browsing, all right, did I see that *312 hash? Then go for it. So once it die, you go for 4 business plan. All right, then you go for broadband, number 3, broadband. Now once you select broadband, the next thing you select the first one, capped plans. All right, then you go for number 2. You see 450 gig for 75,000 naira. So let's just do some mathematics. 75,000 naira divided by 450 gig. So this one is even very cheap because you'll be charged just 166 naira. Let's just put it 170 naira for 1 gig. So if you know that you can use 450 gig in 1 month, all right, and you are working in an office or have an establishment that use heavy data, so you go for this one because it's very cheaper. Just 166 naira. Okay, so now let's move on to the next point. As I promised you, I'm going to show you 3 cheap app that I use to buy data without dialing all this code, because I can't cram all this code off head. It's not, what if I'm on the road, I don't have any of this code where I wrote it down. I cannot just come and start like calling the code. So I need something reliable, something that I'll just, with a click of a button, I'll get data. All right, so let's go to that app and let me show you what you can do. Now, as you can see, now once you go to that platform, now they have best offers daily, weekly and monthly and yearly. So as you can see now, for 30 days, for 1 gig for 30 days is 670 naira. This is expensive on the high side. Okay, so but they just recently increased it. But before, 1 gig was 285 naira. Okay, I will show you screenshots of where I used to get it. 1 gig 285 naira. All right, so if you want to beat this, what I'll advise you go for their weekly plan. All right, you go for their weekly plan for 7 days for 5 gig. They'll give you 1,500 naira. 1,500 naira. Let's do the math. Divided by 5 gig is 300 naira for 1 gig. Okay, so but be sure that you are going to use that 5 gig for within 7 days. If you cannot use it, then just leave it and try other plans. Okay, there's the daily plan, 1 gig for 350 naira, but it's expensive compared to that weekly plan. All right, so depending on what you want. Now I have other apps that you can use to buy data very cheaply, so just check this video here or check the comment section below and you'll get those apps, everything you need. Okay, so drop your questions below and I'm going to answer you sharp.